Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely massive, a shift that literally just rewrote the rules for how wealth is created in the AI economy. We're talking about the launch of DeployCo, OpenAI's brand new $4 billion subsidiary, and exactly why it's sending shockwaves through the corporate world. So let's just jump right in and see how the smartest money on the planet is positioning itself right now.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the DeployCo disruption, then we'll look at their specific implementation model. After that, we'll break down the 3 new wealth tiers of the AI economy, and finally, we'll wrap up with your individual action plan. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the DeployCo disruption.
Okay, picture this. It's May 12, 2026, and India's benchmark Nifty IT index just tumbles. A staggering 3.6% drop in a single day. Major legacy players took massive hits. We're talking TCS dropping 4% and Persistent Systems falling nearly 5%. And get this, the index was already down 25% for the year. You really have to ask yourself what causes a single-day collapse in a sector that employs literally millions of people. Well, it was one single announcement from one company.
This sheer market panic? It was a direct response to a massive new threat leveled right at the legacy IT consulting industry. To put that in perspective, this is a market worth an absolutely mind-boggling $375 billion every single year. For decades, giant firms like Accenture, Deloitte, and McKinsey's tech practices have essentially built multi-hundred-billion-dollar empires just by acting as the middlemen, sitting right between the technology products and the massive enterprises paying to use them. And guys, it is crazy how fast this actually unfolded. On May 11th, OpenAI dropped an absolute bombshell by launching DeployCo. They came out swinging, raising a massive $4 billion in initial investment at a $10 billion valuation, backed by heavy hitters like Goldman Sachs, TPG, and Bain Capital. And within 24 hours, just one day, that $375 billion consulting market responded with sheer panic. Because DeployCo wasn't just some cool new tool, it was basically a declaration of war on the middleman.
But wait, here's what's truly staggering about this whole deal. OpenAI actually guaranteed their private equity investors a 17.5% annual return over 5 years. I mean, think about that for a second. That kind of guarantee? It tells you exactly how incredibly confident OpenAI is that enterprise demand for real AI implementation isn't just strong, it's practically limitless.
So what's the actual engine behind all this panic? Let's get into Section 2, the implementation model.
To really get this, we have to sharply contrast the two approaches. The legacy consulting model, the one used by firms like Accenture, takes 12 to 18 long months, and it costs tens of millions of dollars. They sell you on this idea of vendor neutrality, and usually just end up delivering massive strategic slide decks all about digital transformation. DeployCo completely flips the script. Their model takes weeks, not months, weeks. They aren't delivering slide decks. They're delivering working, functional AI systems built directly on top of OpenAI's frontier model.
So how exactly are they pulling off that kind of speed? Well, that brings us to the really crucial concept here, the forward deployed engineer, or FDE. Now, these aren't your typical salespeople or high-level strategy consultants. These are hardcore, highly skilled engineers who actually move directly into a client's operational environment. They sit there, they identify specific workflows where human labor can be accelerated, and then they just rebuild those workflows right then and there on the floor. It's a total game changer.
Now, actually, this strategy isn't brand new. OpenAI is basically copying the exact, highly profitable playbook pioneered by Palantir Technologies. See, Palantir sends their engineers to essentially live inside client organizations, building these highly customized data systems that are completely wired into the client's day-to-day reality. And that creates massive switching costs. Once you're fully integrated like that, the client is not going to leave. OpenAI is doing the exact same thing, but with the unbelievable, unfair advantage of actually owning the underlying frontier AI models that make the whole shebang work.
And to make sure they could hit the ground running with this FDE model on day one, OpenAI quietly scooped up a London-based applied AI firm called Tomorrow. This move immediately brought in 150 experienced engineers who already had proven real-world AI deployments under their belts at major brands, think Tesco, Virgin Atlantic, Mattel, and Red Bull. So they didn't just buy talent, they bought a proven, ready-to-go client methodology so they could scale up instantly.
Let's zoom out a bit now and look at Section 3, the 3 wealth tiers.
As you can see, the AI economy is rapidly fracturing into 3 very distinct wealth tiers.
Tier 1 is your infrastructure layer, the OpenAIs and NVIDIAs of the world. Playing here requires billions in institutional capital and extreme tech skills, so it's out of reach for most. Then down at the bottom, you've got Tier 3, the product and content layer. This is your digital products, media, ebooks. It has minimal startup costs, sure, but the margins are super low. But then there's Tier 2, the implementation layer. This is the highly accessible sweet spot. This is exactly where you capture the massive margin between raw AI capability and practical business application. It's where DeployCo lives, and much more importantly, it's where you can thrive.
All right, let's shift gears completely for Section 4, the individual action plan.
This right here is what I call the David and Goliath flip. Listen, as an individual operator, you are absolutely not competing with DeployCo. You don't have to. DeployCo's minimum viable client is a Fortune 500 company with a massive 7-figure budget. Instead of a competitor, think of them as your ultimate pathfinder. When Goldman Sachs and OpenAI dropped $4 billion to send engineers to implement AI inside massive businesses, they literally just validated the exact consulting model that you can immediately turn around and offer to the smaller markets that DeployCo is never, ever going to touch.
So, here is your concrete 4-step action plan to start capturing that Tier 2 revenue right now. We're going to take that DeployCo methodology and apply it directly to the clients they exclude. The steps are simple. Develop niche operational knowledge, build a portfolio of one, price by outcome, and target the SMB market. Let's break those down.
For steps 1 and 2, the first thing you have to realize is that generic AI knowledge, it's completely commoditized now. You've got to ditch it. Instead, pick one specific operational domain, maybe it's HR or sales automation or customer service, and become the absolute foremost expert in applying AI to that one thing. Then you build your portfolio of one. Find just one business, solve one highly specific workflow for them, maybe even do it for free or super cheap, measure the results, and document an absolutely undeniable case study. Because let's face it, one concrete proven result is worth 1,000 theoretical pitches.
Moving on to steps 3 and 4. Once you've got that killer case study, you have to fundamentally change how you charge. Stop billing for your time. Seriously, DeployCo doesn't charge by the hour. They charge for delivering a working system that generates real business value. You have to price based on the measurable outcome you're delivering. And finally, target the exact market that DeployCo is ignoring, the small and mid-sized businesses, the ones with 10 to 50 employees. They have the exact same AI implementation problems as the Fortune 500s, and they actually have the budget to pay for help, but they just can't access DeployCo. That means you are their perfect solution.
I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought that perfectly summarizes everything we've talked about in this explainer. The AI consulting gold rush isn't coming, it's already here. The knowledge to use these tools is essentially free and universal at this point. The true, undeniable value lies in the implementation. As the quote goes, the gold rush is real, the shovels are free, the only question is whether you are going to pick one up. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I challenge you to look at your own skills today, right now, and ask yourself, which wealth tier are you building toward?